YouTube, this is Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters, your guide in DIY multimedia production. Back here again today with part 2 of Let's Learn Audacity Together, or something like that, whatever I called it. And if you haven't watched episode 1, be sure to check that out. I'll post a link up in the corner there, and or wherever that is. I guess it would be over there. So yeah, check that out. In that lesson, basically I went over how to record a drum set in Audacity with multiple channels. And what we're going to do now is actually take some of those drum recordings that I recorded, and we're going to mix them a little bit and create some drum loops out of those. So first thing I wanted to mention too is just today, I believe, or yesterday, Audacity updated or released a pretty big update. So if you don't have it yet, make sure you download the latest version of Audacity, which is Audacity 2.2.0. And it's pretty cool. It changed a little bit of the visual design. You notice there's a new logo. It's a little flat design, new font. The buttons now look flat. I'm not sure really what kind of like actual software differences there are just yet, because I haven't really played around with that. But I'm sure there's something. So yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Let's open up one of these drum tracks. So I'm just going to go into my recent files. I already had some open. And this is one of the ones that I recorded in that last video. So let's go ahead and play back a little bit of this. Let me shrink my head a little bit, if I can. Oh, come on. Okay. So I'm going to play some of this back. Okay, so the beginning there, I'm playing pretty tight. It's a simple beat, but it sounds pretty good. But before we actually start making some loops, let's go ahead and do a little bit of mixing on these tracks. If for some reason if you downloaded these files and, well, before I even say that, let me just open this up. Let's go into, let's see, did they move this? Go to View, and then go to Mixer Board. And then it's going to bring up the little Audacity mixer. And then the last two tracks, actually, sorry to jump around here, but before we even do that, let's label these first. So let's go ahead and rename this. This one is the kick drum, so let's call channel 1 kick drum, or just kick. And this one's snare. And then track 3 is overhead left. And track 4 is overhead right. Okay, so now that you got those names in, it'll be easier to figure out what's going on and what you're doing. And this track up here, let's go ahead and name that too. This is the click. And I actually had that muted for that playback that you just heard. So I would keep this click here for now. Might not need it, but just go ahead and keep it there. So you can just mute it. So let's go ahead and go back to View and then go to Mixer Board. And then if you haven't done so yet, oh, that's pretty cool. Look, it gives us a little kick drum and a snare drum icon there because I named those kick and snare. That's pretty neat. Yeah, never knew it did that, or maybe that's a new feature. So anyway, got off track, but let's go ahead and go to these last two, the overheads, and pan those left and right. So make sure that the left one is 100% left and the right one is 100% right, and then play it back. Okay, and you should have some stereo, you know, a nice stereo sound going on there. So, in addition to that, let's go ahead, first off, let's make these tracks a little bit bigger. So let's go to track size, and then expand all collapsed tracks, and this way you can see them full-sized. And let's go ahead and solo our kick drum track for now. And let's play this. I'm going to put my headphones on too so I can hear this a little better. And, you know, actually, to me, I'm pretty happy with the way that sounds right now. I really don't want to put too much on there. So let's move on to snare. Let's just leave the kick drum alone for now. Let's go to snare. Okay. So maybe to me the snare drum sounds a little bit like it's got a little bit of mid-range in there that I'm not real crazy about. So let's go ahead and take care of that first. Let's go into effects. And you may just have a list of effects here and maybe not categorized. If you want to categorize them the way I have on mine, you can just go to edit and then go to preferences. And then go to, where is it? In effects, and then go to sort or group, and then select group by type. And that will give you the same layout that I have. I prefer them this way because it makes them all organized. Like, basically what this means is the ones under Audacity are all of Audacity's default plugins. And then under Nyquist are the ones, well, actually it just has Nyquist prompt there. And then LADSPA, if you're using Windows, you may not have these. These are Linux plugins, and you can see there's quite a bit of those. And then LV2, same with these. These are Windows based, Linux based plugins. And then Nyquist plugins, you could have some of these, or you probably do if you're not using Linux and you have Mac or Windows. You should have the Nyquist plugins. And then VSTs, if you installed VSTs on your system, they would be under that category as well. And if you have an Apple or a Mac, then you probably have one called Audio Units or AU, another category there. But I'm going to try to stick to just the plugins that Audacity has and the Nyquist plugins, just so everybody watching this has the same plugins that I'm using. So first off, let's just go we'll make sure you have the snare channel selected. And you can just click in this area right here, and that'll select that whole channel. And then we can go to Audacity, and then let's go to equalization. And let's preview this. That's interesting. So hopefully that'll go away. Alright, so that may not work. This may be a bug that we found in the new version here. Let me try that again. Okay. Wave track, CCTP line, CPP line. Interesting. Okay. Well, just out of curiosity, let me try a different plugin to see if we have the same problem. Let's go to Echo. Huh. Alright, that's not good. So let me close this up completely. And then I'm going to open it again. And let's just see if that was a one-time glitch. Hopefully it was. Okay, well, we seem to be having a problem. Let's see if another effect, one that's not part of the Audacity effects, let's see if they do it as well. Let's try, no, I have an EQ in here somewhere. DJ EQ. Okay, that works. But this is a real-time plugin. I want to find one that is not real-time. Let's try one of the Nyquist plugins. Okay, so basically everything that is not real-time seems to be having the problem. So, what I said in the beginning of the video to update your version of Audacity, maybe you don't want to do that just yet. I might have to downgrade in order to do this, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video for now. Okay, I'm back, and pardon my hair. I just woke up not that long ago, and I haven't really taken a shower or anything. But so yeah, let me just shrink this down a little bit. So what ended up happening there is I actually had to downgrade my version of Audacity back down to version 2.1.2, and that is because the PPA that I was using to install Audacity, the build, there was just something weird with it. Like basically any project that I opened up or that I created previously in the old version was not functioning correctly in the new version. So I had to go back down to the older version, which is fine. It still works just as good, and hopefully you guys didn't have that issue as well. If you did, then definitely let the forum at Audacity know. And they're currently trying to work the bug out that I found when I did that. So if you just go to forums or forum.audacityteam.org, and you can see that there and see the progress of that. So anyway, let's get back to where we were, which was doing an EQ on this snare drum. And just to remind you again, we're working on 130 BPM recording here from the drum tracks that you could download from the last video, from the last Let's Learn Audacity Together video, or whatever it was called. So yeah, okay. Let's make sure we have the snare drum track highlighted. Then we're going to go to Effect, and then go to Equalization. And I'm going to flatten this out a little bit. And the frequency, actually, that I heard that I didn't really like was somewhere around where it was trying to boost. I don't know why I was trying to boost that. It was somewhere around there. And then I'm also going to give it a little bit more of a treble boost. Right around here. Let's go down a little bit. Alright, let's hear how that sounds. Let's go to Preview. Not crazy about that still. Still like a little bit of a, I don't know, some kind of a weird mid-range in there I don't really like. Let's try this. I think it's a lower mid. I think I'm going up too high. Let's go down to around 200 hertz. And I think I'm going too high with my treble boost. Let's try this around 1800. Almost there. I still want a little bit more of a treble boost though. Let's just do a more wide curve on the treble. There we go. And of course we can cut actually anything below 40 hertz. We're getting some kick drum bleed over there. Actually, I can go even higher than that. Let's go around 60 hertz. And that'll just make it a little bit easier to mix, a little less noisy overall. So let's click OK there. And then we processed our snare drum track. Now let's play back all the stuff together. Alright, sounds pretty good to me. So now what we're going to do is start making this into loops. And the way that we can do that is basically we can highlight an area. So let's zoom in first. Actually, first off, what I want to do is I'm going to unmute my click. And then I'm going to create a label grid based on this click. Okay, so the way to do that is we're going to go into Analyze, and then go to Nyquist, and go to Beat Finder. And should be able to leave that where it is. Make sure you have your click track highlighted, and just click OK. Alright, and now let's go ahead and slide this up underneath the click track. If we zoom in, we can see we now have a label grid. So let's rewind to the beginning and just fix this, how it's a little bit off. So let's slide that over to the edge. And then if we zoom back out a little bit, we'll see that we now have a grid. So this grid is very useful, and if you've watched any of my other videos, let's go ahead and save this first. So save project. Now what this grid is useful for is you can actually use this as a way to line up where you're highlighting, where you're clicking. So let's go ahead and play it back. Although it looks a little bit off still. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's scroll over some. Yeah, my drums are a little bit early, so I'm going to slide it over just a little bit. I went a little bit too far. Okay, let's zoom back out. No, I went too far the other way. Let's go with like right there. It's better to line it up to the drums than the click, because the drums are what we're going to be making loops out of. So now what you can do is you can actually click and drag, and you see that little gold line lights up there when you are around, or when you line up to the, let me just close this. When you get lined up to the grid that we just created, those little gold lines will light up, and that helps you know if you're going to be on time. So the way to hear this in loop form is just to hold down Shift on your keyboard and then press the space bar. Okay, I actually didn't quite copy enough there. I mean, you could use it like that. That'll change the time signature. I think that makes it into like 5/4 or something. Let me think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Actually, I turned it into 7/4. Which is also cool, but we don't want to do that right now. Let's make it a normal beat. Okay, so it's pretty close, but I feel like that the last beat hangs a little bit too long before it starts over. So let's shorten that just a tad. Might have to zoom in more. Actually, maybe I needed to go the other way. Well, let's try it like this. Alright, that sounds pretty good. So now what you can do is you can export this. Let's go ahead and mute the click track. You don't need to mute the label track because that doesn't make any sound. And then you can just go to File and then Export Selected Audio. And then what's going to happen is it's going to bring up a file browser. So let me put this in my recordings and then in Audacity. Then I'm going to create a folder and call this Drum Loops. And then I'm going to select Wave, Microsoft Wave 16-bit. You can use whatever format is appropriate for you, but for me, Wave is the best. And then that's fine, 130 BPM. It's always good to note the BPM in the title of the loop, so that way when you go to use it later on, it's easier to know which loops that you want to use. So we have 130 BPM. 1-1.wave, and then let's just save it. And then it'll say your tracks will be mixed down to 2 stereo channels in the exported file, which is fine. And then I'm not going to bother tagging it. You can if you like, and then it already did it. So now we just made our first loop. So now what we can do is find somewhere else that we want to be a loop. Unselect that so my cursor follows it. Okay, I want to use that little section there where I did that little snare fill thingy. So let me zoom back out a little bit. I think that was around here somewhere. Yep, okay, so this is the 1 of the next beat. And then this started somewhere around here. Make sure you get all of your tracks too, and not just the, the snare and the overheads. You want to make sure you have the kick and everything in there highlighted. Okay, it's not quite right yet. Slide this over some more. Right there's the 1. Okay, and we're still a little bit funky on the end of that, so let's slide that over a little bit. Good. Okay, then we can just do the same thing again. We just go to export selected audio. And now let's call this one 2. Change the extension to wave. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is make a few more of these, and then I'll show you how we can open these up in LMMS and start using them as loops to create music. Okay, so here we are in LMMS, and what we're going to do, I just opened up a brand new project here. So first off, if you remember, those loops that we were working on were in 130 BPM, so the first thing we want to do is change our BPM to 130. And you can do that just by clicking and dragging down, or you can double click, I think, yeah, and just type it in there if you like. And then what I'm going to do is delete all of these extra things here that LMMS always starts with that I never use. So let's go ahead and delete all of those. And then I'm going to add in an empty beat/baseline. And what I'm going to use here is the audiophile processor instrument plugin. And that's, if you didn't know, is just over here. You click that little computer-looking icon, or I guess it's a oscilloscope icon, rather. And then you just can click and drag that guy into there. And then if you click this, it'll open up the window for the audiophile processor. And then we can just click this little folder icon here. And I'm going to browse to my recordings directory, which was here, and then go to Audacity, which is there, and then to drum loops, and then let's import one of these loops that I just made. Okay, and then you'll notice this green dot. That is telling you where the the root note of the sample is. So if we press that, you'll hear that it sounds pretty normal. So what we can do then is actually just put one note right there, and let's play it. Okay, and you'll see how that cuts off. What we can do to fix that actually is if we go into the piano roll, and then let's find where I put that. Where is it? There it is. And actually I'm just going to delete that. So let's left click it. And then I'm going to make sure that this right here shows you how long your note is going to be. So I'm just going to have that set to 1-1. And let's find our root note again, which was right there. And then I'm just going to paste that into there. And let's go ahead and play that back. Okay, and actually this loop was longer, so what I'm going to do is actually create loop points. And I'm just going to move this over to here, and then I'm going to drag this to the end. And it's a little bit off, so what we can do there actually is go into our audiophile processor. And actually this loop isn't really that salvageable, so let's use a different one. Let's go back into the audiophile processor and let's use the first one. Let's play that back. That one's better. Okay. So now what we can do is we can actually start adding effects. You know, this isn't supposed to be a LMMS tutorial, so it's not really going to be, but I'm just going to show you a couple of things here. Let's just put a delay on here. And where's my mix? Controls, yeah, I already did that. Oh yeah, here we go. Wet, dry. And as you can see, you start to get some kind of crazy stuff if you want to. Let's add something else. Let's go into let's try the what? Well, let's put a compressor on there. Should have used stereo. Let's get rid of that. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this too. That one's kind of annoying. Let's just do a reverb. There we go. Okay, so now that we got that set up, we can start adding other stuff in there if we want. We can even go into, let's just look at some samples. This closed hi-hat. And let's put that in here. Okay, so as you can see, I added in this FreeBoy plugin, which is a really cool Game Boy sounding plugin, synth in LMMS. So let's go ahead and play this back, and I'll just start making something up. Oh yes, this is some of the things about LMMS that kind of drives me crazy. Is the preview is really weird, but there we go. So that basically gives you the idea of how you can take some drums, record them in Audacity, cut up some loops, start importing them into LMMS or whatever other program that you're using. If you're using Ableton or Fruity Loops or anything like that, all of these same methods will work. And yeah, so hopefully you found this helpful and entertaining, educational, and all of that. If you did, please click like, thumbs up, subscribe. And check out my links below if you want to check out some of my music and buy any of those. It's all free to download, but if you have $1 or something you want to buy some music with, that would be awesome. That helps me to make these videos some more. And plus, I think it's some pretty cool music. So if you get a chance, check it out. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is Demonic Sweaters, a.k.a. Justin, having a good day today for you, my friend. And I have no idea what I'm saying. Take it easy.